And just like a president should, he should be a leader, he should walk with the people, and he should be a representative of what's going on around here. And we are now proud to be joined by the president and CEO of the Atlanta Braves, Derek Schiller, who comes in bearing gifts, bearing a smile, and bearing the 680 The Fan app on his mobile phone.
I said earlier, Derek, before you got here, I was like, should we ask him if he has the app on his phone, or should we just take his phone without permission and look and see if it's already on there?
What did I do? Without prompting, I showed you that I have the app. How am I going to keep checking all you guys and what you might say?
Well, thanks for stopping by. I know you guys are excited. Everybody is. We start on the road, but we'll be home shortly, and a whole lot of stuff going on, not just for the opening week, but for the entirety of the season. And, you know, one of the more exciting things, everybody saw those Nike City Connect uniforms that are, one, unique, and two, you know, the appropriate thing, I think, to do when you talk about blending the past and the present, old school stuff with new school themes to it. And I think a lot of people are going to eat those up, buy those up, and those will be on display every Saturday for home games here at Truist Park.
Yeah, so the City Connect is a program that I think started in the NBA, and it's started to go to other leagues, especially baseball. There's a number of teams who've done the City Connect jerseys. This is our first time doing it. We just released it, obviously, this week. It's a very exciting program for us because it does give us a chance to express ourselves in a new and different way. You know, you're trying to connect to the youth through these things. But the other thing that I think is important for fans to understand is part of the reason why we chose the look and feel of that jersey that we did, the design, was there's now a limitation on the number of jerseys that you can wear, the different variations. And so, you know, in one way, we're actually preserving those old 70s jerseys that people like so much, putting a new wrinkle on it, new twist on it. The design, I think, really is inspirational, certainly pays homage to Hank and all that he does and has done for the franchise, and you know the various little things that are integrated into that uniform are cool. And you know, I would say also, as we talk about this, it's really fun to think about how we did the launch too. I don't know if you guys saw the video launch that we did. It got put out all over social media, but having a helicopter come into the field and land, you have Ludacris and Big Boy as part of it, and I have a little street cred here. We have Zaytoven did a special song.
Oh, producer extraordinaire.
Producer extraordinaire did a special song. If you haven't heard that, it's really cool. But we were excited to release that, and hopefully that connects with especially that younger generation.
Well, and the younger generation, I know you equated it to the NBA. I watched the jersey sales for all the City Connect jerseys or the City jerseys in the NBA. Do you feel that'll be the same thing here for Atlanta?
Yeah, for sure. And I do like the fact that while we're connecting to the younger generation, there's still, again, this tie back to the history and the legacy and some of those older designs. You obviously have that unique the A on the chest there. That's pretty cool, and some other little tidbits that are part of the design. But I do think it's going to be, you know, a great jersey to sort of display and wear and have fun with. As you said, we're going to wear it every Saturday night, beginning the first home Saturday, and you know, we'll see how it gets received.
Derek Schiller, President and CEO of the Atlanta Braves, joining us here in the locker room on the Fan 680 93.7 FM. Well, we made it to the starting line. Some things that happen, and they always happen in baseball. Sometimes there are injuries. Sometimes you have to change some lineups. Where do you think we are? The moves that Alex Anthopoulos has made over the last few years has really put us in a window. And where do you think that window could take us, and how long? I mean, every president wants us to always be, you know, in World Series mode for 20 years. But where do you think we are? Because you look at all of these guys in their primes that are fun to watch, that really connect to the city. Where do you think we are in that window as we get ready for 2023?
Well, I think context is important here, right? You know, certainly the Braves have had a long history of having very good teams. And, you know, it probably started most of all with John Sherholtz and ushering in all those teams in the 90s, of course, winning 14 straight division championships and all that. But I think Alex has really set the bar even higher, I think, now. You know, winning 101 games last year with that team, unfortunately having some of the injuries at the very end that hurt us. But it's hard to say this after winning 101 games. I think the expectation or the thought about this team is we could even be better than last year. I mean, you go 1 through 9, as well as the pitching and the depth that we have. I think Alex and his whole team of people have done an unbelievable job of giving the fans not just hope, but there's a credibility now that's behind it because of what we've already achieved at this point in time in his tenure. And it's really impressive to look at. And again, if you put it in context with all the other teams, right? Look around baseball, 30 teams. You know, I can tell you people are waking up, whether the day before or day of their opener. I don't know that everybody has the same level of belief or hope that Braves fans should have, deservingly so, given what we've got on that field.
Is it unrealistic that guys like me say it's World Series or bust?
You know, I don't know if that's either realistic or unrealistic. I mean, look, last year when we ultimately won the division, you know, the way that we did, obviously coming from behind the Mets and beating them at the very end there and clinching the division, I think we were emerging from there going, wow, this team actually has the chance to win the whole thing. And so, you know, you put us back in that spotlight, right? And you'd probably say, we got to win the World Series right there, right? We're 101 win team. You know, look, I think the expectation should be very high for us because the team is very good. And we'll see. But there's a lot, you know, how do they say, the ball bounces all kinds of different ways during the course of the season. And, you know, there's 162 of these games that get played, and you got to stay healthy. There's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of moves that are going to have to be made. I think one of the things that has been, you know, part of how Alex has built his success here with us is that he's responded to the needs of the team as the season goes. He doesn't just build a team and wait for it to do what it does. He continues to improve each and every day and manage the team in a terrific way that I think is unlike anybody else.
When you see the demand early on, I mean, when you can't sell any more tickets already, standing room only tickets are available for the Sunday, the first home opener games when we come to Atlanta to Truist Park. But the only tickets now that you guys have, $25 for Sunday's game. When you have standing room only tickets and you just can't get any more people in the building, what does that do for you as a president when you talk about all of the work that has to go into getting people not only to believe, but to continue to show up in the Battery and continue to get here before the game even starts?
Well, this is my 20th season. This will be my 20th season with the Braves. And it's not only the first in my tenure, but the first that I'm aware of where we've actually cut off season tickets. It's something that's never happened before, to my knowledge, as I said. And you know, so going into the season, a few weeks before the season, we've cut off season tickets. We've begun a waiting list on that. You know, it's just terrific. It's terrific to see the way the fans have responded. You know, obviously a big part of that, as you mentioned, is the Battery, the experience in the Battery, what the Battery can deliver before and after games. We could talk a little bit about that later as well. But I think, you know, the beyond that, you just look at how we've grown each and every year that we've been here at Truist Park. And again, part of that is the success of the team, of course. But the fans have responded in unbelievable ways. I think when we first got going at what was then SunTrust Park, now Truist Park, we probably would have said anything above 2.5 million fans in the ballpark is a huge success. Well, last year we did 3.1 million fans. This year we have a chance to do even more than that. Last year we led the league in the percent capacity sold from all teams, right? So again, there's a chance we beat that and lead the league again. So fans love what they're getting. The experience at the ballpark and the Battery is terrific, and the team delivers.
Somebody in your role, president of a professional sports team, but specifically over the Braves, how is results measured in your role? Like most people look at a manager, they'll look at Brian Snicker, they'll look at Alex Anthopoulos and go, okay, success is determined by wins and losses. Pretty straightforward. How is success measured in your role?
Well, one way to do it is financially, and let me explain that. So, you know, professional sports are actually really, really hard in that regard because you actually set a budget well before you know exactly what the team on the field might do or even what it is, you know, before you've even filled out the roster. And so as you're building, you know, your budget and your business plan and all that kind of stuff, you're doing it well before you know all of the different inputs. And you know, our perspective is as long as we can continue to grow the business side, we pour those resources back into the player side. We've shown that. That's proof. That's not, you know, don't take me for my word. Look at what we've done over the years. And, you know, this year, I think the way to judge us is if we can continue to pour more and more money into the payroll, that means that the business is more successful. And so, you know, it's a direct responsibility that I and everybody else has on the business side is to try to do our best to make this business work really, really well. You know, I'm biased here, but I'd put us against anybody else in baseball as far as how we manage our business. And again, don't take my word for it because we're a public entity. Right. You know, we're a stock that's listed on NASDAQ. We're a tracking stock right now. We're still owned by Liberty Media, of course, but we're you know, they don't tell us what to do. Terry McGurk is our chairman. He basically sets the roadmap for us and puts all of us in place to do our respective jobs. And again, I think the success that we've had is there for everybody to see. We, you know, having 3.1+ million fans come here, having the success of the Battery, which by the way is a consistent revenue stream that we can look forward to. You know, if you think about it from a business term perspective, first and foremost, like, you know, it's something that delivers for us, that we reinvest those dollars back into the payroll. And you know, and oh, by the way, really importantly, it's also a great experience for fans too. So, you know, it works both ways.
Speaking of that, President, CEO of the Atlanta Braves, Derek Schiller, joining us here in the locker room, always being ahead of the curve. You know, you guys went to the cashless situation, and now with the pitch clock, they're going to be shorter games, so you can't have people standing in line a long time for food. Talk about some of the things that you guys have to sit in when you have those meetings, and those things that you have to improve upon, even though you've made it a great experience already. When you have to get people into the ballpark, get them their food and beverage, and then get them back to their seats so they can enjoy the product.
Well, last year we were awarded with a pretty cool award. Doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of public attention, but we were the most innovative team award that we got from an organization that judges all professional sports teams across the world, not just here domestically. So we were the #1 most innovative team in baseball and one of the top 10 in the entire world. And I think that I say that in advance of answering your question because it's really how we approach the business as a whole, right? The Battery was itself innovative. You know, you mentioned some of the rule changes, specifically the pitch clock. You know, if you look at spring training results right now, the time of game has gone down somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes in spring training games. That's probably about 20 minutes is what we think is going to happen in the regular season. And so, yeah, we have to be more efficient with how we have some of the operations of concessions and related things. And so we actually did a new partnership with Global Payments where we've entered into an agreement. We'll have all brand new point of sale equipment. So, you know, kind of boring here as we talk about it, but the fun part about it is, right, is there are many places around the ballpark now where you actually be able to check out yourself.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Not unlike a grocery store, right?
Right.
People are used to that. So you take an item, if you're just grabbing a, you know, Coca-Cola or whatever it might be, and you know, you just scan the barcode and check out, and you manage the process yourself. We'll also have a concept called Just Walk Out technology, which basically you scan your credit card as you go in, you pick your items, it knows which items you picked, you walk out, don't even have to do anything else. So it's, you know, we're testing those types of things in the ballpark and trying to create a little bit more frictionless experience for our fans and continue that spirit of innovation.
It could be good or bad based on how I see people at Publix struggling in the self-checkout line.
Sounds like the Starship Enterprise in there. Goodness gracious.
Bag your
It's
own
not
groceries.
that hard. Just find the barcode, scan it, get in, get out.
You know, Derek.
It's an IQ test for you.
Yeah, it certainly is.
I want to ask you this question because 2020 we lost out on the AllStar Game, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I just want to, you know, ask.
21, yes.
Yes, 21. I'm sorry. How far in advance are those talks going on? Is it going on now? Because we talk about the Battery and the money raising, and people come into our organization looking how to improve. And this is a place of, you know, you must see, you must come, and you must, you know, resonate to everybody. How far off do those, you know, talks go?
Many years. Yeah, let's go back to 21. I don't want to relive that moment because it wasn't a great moment, but,
Yes.
but it actually led to a great moment, which is obviously winning the World Series. So we were terribly disappointed that the All-Star Game was taken from us. And, you know, we expressed that in a statement, and I think, you know, our message has been consistent on that. We were terribly disappointed. We want the All-Star Game to come back, and we're working very hard for the All-Star Game to come back to Atlanta. We think it's deservingly so should come back, not just because it was taken from us to begin with, but because Atlanta deserves it for many, many reasons, right? The way that this city and community has embraced sports and what we can do to showcase baseball on the world's biggest stage in that regard. you know, I look back though on that, and obviously we won the World Series, so it's like that's one of those, you know, things that you look back and you say that I traded all for that, right?
Right.
But I actually, when I think about the All-Star Game being taken away and some of the opportunities for us to showcase, I remember when Fox covered us, and for those fans that may have watched it on TV, you know, the coverage was really cool. They had the pre and post game show emanating from the plaza and the Battery. You had the Atlanta Braves script letters in the background with that bridge and the whole thing. We had 40,000 people out in the plaza, and those guys remarked it wasn't just the best Major League Baseball experience they've ever seen. It was the best sports experience those guys had ever seen in all the things that they have covered. And that gives me, you know, a great deal of pride and joy of thinking back about that and what people were able to see. And hopefully we get to do that again.
Interesting, and Casey Motter obviously was here as a PA announcer for a long time, and he's going to be severely missed. I thought you guys did a really cool thing to set up and go get a new PA announcer. Mark Owens, who's a longtime friend of mine, stepped down as the in-game announcer as well. What was that like going through the PA announcer search? Was that something that was a brainstorm of yours or maybe somebody in your creative team to say, hey, here could be a way that we reach out and allow fans to maybe try to live their dream and get this job?
So Kevin Krause is the new PA announcer. It was fun to do a sort of a public resume of that and have the public involved in that. I would say we scoured the earth, you know, far and wide to find a really good voice, and I think we did just that. Casey Motter did a terrific job for us. It was terrible, tragic that he passed away, and obviously was no longer able to do all of this with us. So having Kevin, you know, come into that role is going to be fun for people to see and hear. The other thing is we're talking about talent, right? We also have a new television play-by-play announcer.
Right.
I think that's worth noting.
Yeah.
So Brandon Godden is the new TV play-by-play voice. Some of you might be familiar with Brandon.
From Georgia
His
Tech.
family.
Particularly either your Georgia Tech days or if you're a gamer, he was the voice of Madden.
Sure was.
And now he'll be the voice, or at least the TV voice of the Braves. I don't want to take the voice away from Ben Ingram.
No.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm channeling my inner Ben Ingram this morning with my pollen, with my pipes. But I'm excited about what Brandon will do for us. He grew up as a lifelong Braves fan. I think he's been on your air a couple times already, and you'll get a chance to meet him and know him if you already haven't. He's a terrific guy, relatively young, and so excited to have him fill that role and get going.
Braves president and CEO Derek Schiller joining us here in the locker room on the Fan 680 93.7 FM.
Speaking of Brandon Godden, I mean, we heard Chip for so long on the TV, and I think that caught a lot of Braves fans by surprise. But what goes into the decision? I'm sure you had a ton of people reach out that wanted to be the new voice on TV for the Atlanta Braves. What goes into that selection process of finding his replacement?
You know, the great thing is that the Braves broadcast talent has been known as one of the best in all of the industry. And so to your point, we had an enormous amount of interest in this. You know, think about the legacy of guys that have filled that role with the Braves, right? Mm-hmm. Ernie Johnson and Skip Carey, and obviously you mentioned Chip and many others. So having that legacy only informs people about how highly regarded we have in the broadcast. Some people think of this as a lesser important. These are the people that bring you the Braves directly into your homes. They're the ones that you really know the most. Maybe in some cases more than players, because players sometimes come and go. These guys hopefully will be around for a long time. It was an extremely intense process. We had a lot of interest, and the way that we approached it, we had a small number of us that were involved. In fact, in the final decision process, we actually had Alex and I doing some of that along with Terry. But it was great because involving Alex, you want to think about what he does for a living. He picks talent, right? So this was an important talent pick, and having his perspective on this was really fun to
Did Chip's replacement need to have a connection to the Braves somehow? Was that on the?
No, it's not a prerequisite, but it was an added bonus. And I think understanding our history and being a fan makes the ability to do the job so much better. For instance, when he's now going to broadcast these games, he can understand it, relate to it from a fan's perspective, unlike somebody that might just come in and have studied it, right, or learned it on the go. He knows it from a very emotional, visceral level, and I think you're gonna have that come out a little bit. He's got great pipes, to use that term again, and he's very, very knowledgeable about the Braves, and super excited about this. As you've heard him say, I'll quote his terms, this is his dream job.
We were talking about the food before you came in here, seeing some of these unbelievable food choices.
We do that from time to time on this show.
We do it a lot. Usually,
Notice I brought you hats, but I didn't bring you food.
He bought us the best
it would be the
ball
one
markers.
thing
Oh, man.
it'd be the one thing that probably would beat the hats. Is I brought you some food.
And ball markers.
Yes.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness
which
gracious.
Yeah,
Joe
you-
could have used when we were at
Joe
Harris.
Joe would have never used it.
What goes into those food concepts? Because I look at some of this, and this is like gourmet food. This is not your typical popcorn and hot dogs. I know there are that stuff there, but some of those food choices just look unbelievable.
Well, look, next process, we'll invite you into the test kitchen.
Oh,
Yes,
my
sir.
God.
Yes, sir. The locker room.
Actually, this is the exact right demo to put inside the test kitchen. The only problem is I think you guys would eat just about anything.
Pretty much.
All
Yeah,
due
yeah.
respect about that.
Yes.
This is a fun process. It goes on during the whole off season. We have a relatively new chef, Chef Lewis, who's, if you're out there, he's a great chef. He's handles. Think about it this way, right? So Chef Lewis and the Delaware North team, who helps manage our concessions. Think about it in this perspective. We are the largest restaurant in the Southeast whenever we are playing a game. By far, it's not even close, right? So we're feeding 40,000 people when we've got a game going on, which makes us the largest restaurant. And because of the nature of baseball, it's a place where people, more than any other sport, I would say, where people come to enjoy food along with their experience of a baseball game. And so it's really important that we have, fun food items. You're not going there necessarily to have health food.
No.
Although we do have more and more of those options each and every year because that's the palate of people. We even have, I'm not sure I could say it on the radio. It is their official name. We have Slutty Vegan.
Yeah.
That's coming in.
And they're really
Is
good.
that legal? Did
Yes,
I
that
get
is
booted?
legal. No. You won't get canceled for that.
So they're coming in, and so there's vegan options.
And Pinky Cole, a staple of the Atlanta community, she's really grown that business. So you're going to have the vegan community, folks that like to eat, their brats and their andouille sausage.
Have you had it, by the way? I've had it. I don't know how it's vegan. It tastes
like a burger.
It tastes like a burger, and
Yeah.
it's sloppy and good. I love it.
Wrapping up with President CEO of the Atlanta Braves, Derek Schiller. You mentioned it earlier when you first got here, but for people who would like to get into Truist Park, there's just a high demand. People have bought the tickets, but it doesn't mean you can't get on the wait list. There is an opportunity for you to get on a wait list, and I think getting that information out will encourage a lot of people to say, hey, let me go ahead and do that now, so when tickets do become available, I can get in with my family and my friends.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, getting on the wait list is probably your best way to ensure that if you're interested in season tickets in the future, you're going to get that opportunity. We'll also probably do some specials for people that are on that wait list, so that's another reason to get on that. Just call into our offices or go on our website. There's all kinds of information on our ticket page on our website for that. But I do want to explain part of the reason why we cut off season tickets. It's important to understand how the Braves draw people, right? So one of the things that we wanted to protect is for the ability for people that are only coming to one or two games to still be able to get tickets. And we draw from really not just Atlanta or Georgia or even a 6-state area, which is our big territory. We draw from the entire United States. And I think that really dates back to when we were on TBS and the Superstation, obviously. But, you got people that are coming far and wide, and we wanted to ensure that you still have a chance to buy a ticket. But I certainly would encourage people, if they're interested in a game during the course of the season, don't wait. Already this year, at this point in time, we've sold out more than half the games in April already, as well as a number of games for the rest of the season. I think we had more than half of our games sell out last year, and I would expect that we're going to be in that place, if not better, this year.
Do the Braves care about, one way or another, about not opening the season at home? Because I was saying yesterday, it feels like, I know last year we opened up against the Reds at home, but it seems like every year we're on the road.
I actually heard this discussion yesterday. I was kind of smiling. I was kind of smiling. Yes, I was kind of smiling because, yes, there's a lot that goes into the scheduling process. We do have special requests that we make. the scheduling process in all sports is extremely complex. In baseball, as you can understand, with 162 games, it's even more complex. And, they factor in everything from travel and all kinds of, baseball operations considerations to some of the business considerations, some of the when you want to have special requests for home games, whether it be a July 4th or Memorial Day or something like that, as well as you can special request whether you start on the road or not. And from time to time, we do like starting on the road. I wouldn't say it's like one of the highest degrees of special requests, but one way you look at this from a team perspective is when you go on the road right away, you take the team that was assembled during spring training, you make your final cuts, you get to that team. If you put them on the road, they're right away gelling together. They're working together. They're in a place where they don't have other things, family dynamics and whatnot that are being pulled at them. And so it's one way to look at that. We liked it for that reason, as well as in some cases we like to get a road trip out of the way right away. And you've seen that we started on the West Coast a number of times because we actually like to get that West Coast trip, one of our West Coast trips, out of the way.
How about the 4th of July? If you had to make a pitch to get one thing that you want, I would want the 4th of July weekend for folks to come in here and get a chance to experience this entire situation here in the Battery for 4th of July every year.
So going back about 10 years, we started looking at this, and I didn't realize this until we were like studying our schedule in depth. Since 1966, when we moved the team to Atlanta, up until about 10 years ago, we played a July 4th game at home every year. And so it became, in a way, a tradition that I'm not sure even the team knew that we had. And so we began to special request it. We haven't always gotten it since then. So there's been a couple of years where we haven't gotten the July 4th game. But again, I think it speaks to the way our fan base works. People like to come here as a destination. And, in many cases, you got fans that come here and turn it into a vacation during the summer with their family and their friends. And so we like doing that, and we like having the games around that.
Fantastic stuff. Everybody around town is excited. The season opener tomorrow in the nation's capital, 105. We're proud and thankful to be the home of the Atlanta Braves. We'll be all over it. The city will be all over it. And then the home opener Thursday, April 6th, with the Padres come to town. So you talk about a clash of titans. The Braves hosting the Padres for 4 games for the first games at Truist Park this year. It should be a blast. Derek Schiller, we thank you for your gifts. We thank you for your time. And we thank you for downloading the 680 Fan app. You're showing leadership. People can follow you. If the president can download the 680 Fan app, everybody else can.
And if you ever have a problem with one of John's takes, like World Series or bust, feel free to reach out to me. We'll nip it in the bud.
Hey, listen, I do sincerely appreciate. I'll end on a serious note. I appreciate the way in which you guys cover the team, the way in which you represent the team. And so I'll just sort of leave you with that. When you go out of the country, just remember you're still representing the team. And if you're gonna do something crazy, take off your Braves hat, will you, please?
Always try to be on our best when we represent the station and the A. There he is, President, CEO of the Atlanta Braves, Derek Schiller, joining us here in the locker room.